Just days after India's Air Force chief made a categorical claim on the number of kills achieved by the Indian Air Force during Operation Sindoor, including Pakistani F-16 fighters, we now have even more evidence of the kills that actually happened. Now go through this with me slowly, because this is a world exclusive that becomes the most categorical possible indication of the damage that India inflicted on the Pakistan Air Force. The US government has now, in a very, very unusual move, something it has never done before, it has refused to answer specific queries on the loss of Pakistan Air Force operated F-16 fighter jets during Operation Sindoor in May. On all previous occasions, when requested for such information, the US government has always categorically provided a list of active fighters, including those in the Pakistan Air Force. This time, tellingly, it has denied a request for such information and directed NDTV's request to the Pakistan government. In a statement to NDTV's Vishnu Shom, the US State Department has said, "We refer you to the government of Pakistan to discuss its F-16s, something that they've never ever said before, viewer." The US statement comes despite the fact that Washington has full knowledge of the status of Pakistan-operated F-16s through US contractors known as technical support teams. Now, these teams are deployed in Pakistan 24/7 to monitor the use of Pakistan's US-built F-16s and are contractually obliged to be fully aware of the status of all of Pakistan's F-16 jets at all times. Now, the US State Department statement to NDTV's Vishnu Shom contrasts very, very starkly with information on Pakistan-operated F-16s, which the US government had provided in 2019 when they had denied that the Pakistan Air Force had lost any F-16s following India's Balakot airstrikes. Vishnu Shom, our group executive editor, breaking this big NDTV world exclusive right here. Vishnu, the Air Force Chief, Air Chief Marshal AP Singh, had categorically mentioned F-16s in this. Following that, you've reached out to the US State Department and other departments of the US government, very tellingly, unlike ever before, where they have, shared this information with journalists, like in 2019, that, all is well, no F-16s were shot down, here's the list of all the active F-16s. This time, very, very tellingly, they've directed you to the Pakistan government. Tell us what that means, Vishnu.
It means that we'll never get a proper answer on how many F-16s have been lost, because it's not something that Pakistan would offer by way of information. But just 6 years after Balakot, Shiv, in 2019, Foreign Policy magazine had come out with an article in which sources in the US government, in the Pentagon, had told them that there were no Pakistani F-16s which had been lost. Now, this contradicted India's claim, where we felt that Abhinandan had shot down a Pakistani F-16. But be that as it may, on this occasion, in a formal statement to NDTV, the US State Department has said, look, direct your questions to Pakistan. I see this as an effort at obfuscating from the truth. Why? Because America knows on a legal requirement 24/7 the exact status of Pakistani F-16s that you see there on your screen, because as part of Pakistan acquiring these platforms and as part of Pakistan being able to operate and maintain these platforms, technical operators, end users, and there's an end user agreement on the basis of which contractors from America live in Pakistan to ensure that these can only operate in certain bases and they can take account of these jets at any stage.
Because, Vishnu, the query that you put forward to the United States government, and there is a Freedom of Information Act under which they're supposed to disburse such information, beyond some reasonable restrictions, of course. But
they refused.
They refused, which is strange, because in the past they have provided this information to journalists, Vishnu.
They absolutely provided this information to journalists in the past. This has been an effort lasting 2 months. It's only in the last, at 2 a.m. in this morning, that we got this statement from the State Department. Prior to that, I had filed a Freedom of Information Act in the United States
Yeah.
to the Department of Defense. They responded and said that they were not in a position to answer this question, and they gave all sorts of reasons to basically say that they were not obliged to answer that question. I found that response strange, but they did direct me to the US Department of Defense. I replied to the US Department of Defense, not once, but on 2 occasions. I didn't receive a single reply. Now finally, pegged to the remarks made by Air Chief Marshal AP Singh, I wrote to the State Department, and they've come back with this one-line answer saying, oh, go ask Pakistan. So questions will be asked of that, because it's very easy for America to say yes or no. At one level, Shiv, and this is my final point, to your last question, is America would potentially be deeply embarrassed at the loss of one, if not several, F-16 platforms, since it was inducted into combat all over the world, in Serbia, in Bosnia, Herzegovina, in Iraq, earlier on between India and Pakistan, and certainly now in Ukraine as well. Very few F-16s have actually gone down. Now, if India has downed significant numbers of F-16s, if they've been lost on the ground, then it's an embarrassment to the American defense industry, is how I analyze this.
So that is the reason why in 2019, and I want to put that graphic on our screen, in 2019, when the US apparently had information that no F-16s had been shot down, they were they showed a great deal of alacrity in sharing that information on the record with several journalists who reached out.
It was sources to Nara Seligman in the Foreign Policy magazine. But they said it.
They said it. Pentagon officials as sources were quoted as having said
multiple
that
sources.
All the F-16s were actually accounted for. This time, they've not even done it on sources. They've simply said, look, we've got nothing to share. Please direct your queries to the Pakistan government. For me, that is proof enough that they do not want to comment on, what we know as a categorical loss of at least some F-16s. The Indian Air Force Chief himself said it, Vishnu. I want to play out that soundbite. This was at the LM Khatre Memorial Lecture over the weekend in Bengaluru, which Vishnu and I both reported. Here's what the Air Chief said, and then I'm going to show you in full text what the US government has told Vishnu.
The SAGW systems, mostly from, I'm talking about fighter aircraft are from S-400. We have at least 5 fighters confirmed killed and 1 large aircraft, which could be either an Elint aircraft or an AWNC aircraft, which was taken out at a distance of about 300 kilometers. This is the actually largest ever recorded surface-to-air kill that we can talk about. And
so this time, Vishnu, they've said we refer you to the Pakistan government. But let's put that aside for a moment, because the Indian Air Force Chief has spoken. He's put it out there. He's mentioned F-16s 3 times in that speech. There is no reason not to believe the Indian Air Force Chief, because it has taken a while to put all that forensic data together. So we know now that F-16s were definitely knocked out, both in the air as well as on the ground. From your understanding, from everything that you've seen, including what the US State Department has just told you, Vishnu, how many F-16s, in your view, may have been destroyed? We don't have a number just yet, but also how and where. Take us through that.
Well, let's look at these images, because in that speech of the Air Chief Marshal, he referred to F-16s under maintenance in Jacobabad. Now, this is an image, and we broadcast these images first from the 30th of April before Op Sindoor. This is that hangar in Jacobabad. It's entirely intact. Now, this is an image on the right-hand side of your screen from the 11th of May 2025, after it was destroyed. This was destroyed presumably by a BrahMos and possibly scalp strike. The Indian Air Force Chief has indicated that in this hangar there were F-16s operated by Pakistan which were undergoing maintenance. So, Shiv, this is an F-16 hangar. In fact, that is what the Air Force Chief said as well. If this was an F-16 hangar, and we have no reason to dispute what the Air Force Chief says, it's very easy information for any of us to know just by looking at Google Earth where Pakistan positions its F-16s, then I suggest that nothing would have survived inside that. And if there were jets which were inside that, they wouldn't have been damaged, they would have been destroyed. He also spoke about Bholari and Pakistani airborne warning and control aircraft destroyed over there. But this is absolutely key because nothing would have survived over there at this F-16 base. Now, the Indian Air Force chief did not talk specifically of the types of fighter aircraft which the Pakistanis may have lost, aircraft which were intercepted by S-400s. Let's roll that video, if we can, of Pakistani F-16s so that we can actually tell our viewers or show our viewers what we are talking about. These are Pakistan's F-16s. Before Op Sindoor, they had approximately 74 to 75 of these. But these are their most precious assets. This is footage of their F-16s in the United States where they had gone for red flag joint exercises. Now, the Indian Air Force chief, as I mentioned, did not say the number of these fighters lost in the air, but India knows that there are 5 fighters which have been downed by the Russian-made S-400 system, and there's a larger electronic intelligence or a Pakistani AWACS platform also shot down in the air at a range of 300 kilometers. The loss of these F-16 aircraft would be a huge blow for the Pakistan Air Force. These are their sword arm, multi-role fighters, excellent fighters which have had a key role in recent operations between India and Pakistan, right? So this is the bulwark of the Pakistan Air Force until recently, and we now believe, on the basis of what the Indian Air Force chief has said, that a number of these may have been destroyed. And the point of this story, just to return to the key point that we are talking about now, why are we talking about this now? We are talking about this now because after reaching out to the government of the United States at multiple levels, they have refused to answer a question on whether any F-16 aircraft were lost. They directed us to the Pakistan government, which is bizarre because the Pakistan government will never answer, will never come out with the actual truth. And if you are asking, but why should the US tell you about Pakistan Air Force aircraft? I'll go back to that key point. The US monitors Pakistan F-16s 24/7 through contractors as part of a legal agreement which has been signed between Islamabad and Washington. It is premised on that Pakistan's F-16s are maintained, upgraded, and can be operated.